we'll get right down to it on our at our table today. Of course, our our virtual table today is our Ratsénhaienhs Lindsay Leborgne, and he is the one of the chiefs on the Finance, Administration, and Operations Committee, and he'll be presenting on behalf of the Ratsénhaienhs. Onerahtókha Marquis is the executive director of the Mohawk Council of Kahnawà. She will be presenting as well. And also on the call will be Erica DeLille, who's been with the Mohawk Council for several years now. She's now the Director of Financial Services, and she will be available to assist if we need any clarifications. So with that, I'd like to get the ball rolling with Ratsénhaienhs Lindsay Leborgne. Lindsay, the floor is yours.
As Joe mentioned, this is the budget for 2022, 2023. I've been on council. This is my 18th year. It wasn't consecutive, but this is my 18th year on council. It's the first time I'm taking part in this meeting with the press to discuss the budget. So bear with me, please. Just before Oné, our executive director, gets started with actual all the numbers, and we'll go through the nuts and bolts of the budget. But I would like to take this time to thank the entire community, all the people that work for the MCK. This has been extremely difficult these last 2 years, and we've all gone through it. It's been hard. It's been stressful on everybody. Our workers, I think, have done an excellent job. Some of them work from home. Some of them had to stay on the front lines, which at the beginning of this pandemic was it was unknown. Like people were dying, right? So I commend them for sticking with their job and carrying out a job under difficult circumstances. To all our managers and our directors and all our workers that actually work for the MCK, we thank you. I take this time to thank you. The council thanks you. The community thanks you. You've done an excellent job up to this point, and we would like to continue that. The budget this year, I guess, as you all know, is $63 million. We had something unusual. We had quite a sizable surplus this year. We don't usually have that. Again, Oné will explain in when she talks about the numbers why that came about. But obviously, it was things, people weren't hired. Some jobs went unfilled, so money was accruing. Due to that, we also had excellent news from Mohawk Online. They contributed a substantial amount of money to help the community during this time, and it was something that was indispensable to the community. They've done a wonderful job. I'd like to thank them. Our electronic gaming devices, EGDs, also brought in a significant amount of money, so that will also help make sure that we have a surplus this year. And well, that being said, I think I would take this opportunity now to turn it over to Onerahtókha Marquis, who's our executive director. Onerahtókha.
Oh, Lindsay, appreciate it. Joe, thanks for the introduction as well. Good afternoon, everybody here today in our virtual table. So I'll just touch on a little bit more details, maybe some information taken directly from the press release itself, and just build on a little bit of what Chief Lindsay had just shared with you all. So the Council of Chiefs just a couple of weeks ago unanimously approved MCK's operating budget for this fiscal year, actually starting today, April 1st, 2022, going up to March 31st, 2023, in the amount of $63 million. In addition to that, approximately $3 million will also be allocated to the various community organizations that we've, continued to fund up to this point. Lindsay noted the, significant surplus that the MCK has incurred. And again, so that's speaking to the previous fiscal year, so the one that just ended yesterday, fiscal year 21-22, whereby that $8 million surplus came about due to various reasons. And it was touched on again earlier by Lindsay, the higher than projected revenue from the EGD's pilot project, in addition to the MOL dividend that comes to the MCK. Both of those amounts, EGDs in the amount of $6 million and the MOL dividend, $7 million. Other factors that also contributed to the large surplus in the fiscal year that had just ended was also due to savings across the entire organization that may have been brought about due to the pandemic. For example, we've experienced a lot of savings in office supplies. Again, given the fact that a lot of our employees had to transition to remote work, and there wasn't that need to purchase office supplies. So just wanted to provide some examples as to areas where we did incur cost savings for the organization. I think the other community organizations could attest to this, as it's been maybe a worldwide HR challenge in terms of trying to recruit and staff vacant positions in their respective organizations. As a result, we did experience some cost savings in that area as well. Moving forward, and I guess focusing more on the new fiscal year starting today, we are projecting an operational surplus of $2.5 million. Again, giving much of that coming from EGD revenues, where we are projecting in the amount of $6 million, as well as another $6 million coming from MOL in this new fiscal year. Again, just wanted to clarify that these are our projections, our estimations that we're making at this point. But when we actually receive the actual revenues and incomes from these respective projects, these could come in lower or higher. Obviously, we remain hopeful and optimistic that it's at the higher end. But just wanted to clarify again that these are just estimations that we're making through our projected budget for this next fiscal year. I also wanted to take this opportunity now to share some insights on other matters as they relate to MCK finances and the community at large, and some of the direction that we're taking here at the MCK. On that note, I think the MCK is more than aware of the ever-growing needs of our community. And we continue to look at finding different ways to manage and sustain those needs on a continuous basis. I think a good example more recently is the housing study, or the surveys that were recently conducted. And those clearly identified that the needs never go away. On that note, moving forward, the MCK will be implementing projects across the MCK, not just in housing, to try and find the best ways to meet the needs. At the same time, we need to balance that with fiscal responsibilities. That's definitely not an easy task, but we remain committed to providing the services that our community deserves. And I don't think, not just in the short term, because to me, I believe it's also important that we ensure that decisions that we're making today incorporate the needs of the future 7 generations. Chief Lindsay touched on, the pandemic and the unprecedented situation and environment that it's created for the organization and for the community and the world itself. And not just financially speaking, but obviously the pandemic has changed the way we do work now, right? Some of our employees, majority, are still working remotely. The pandemic caused us to face some challenges, and that the unavailability of staff due to health concerns as a result of extra work or from catching the virus itself. Because of the pandemic, we've had to make physical adjustments to our offices and making transformations on how we function. I think something as simple as the water bill and the new processes that we needed to implement just to ensure that our community members are able to pay their bills online. Something else just to highlight, and I think an obvious one is inflation. And that's another huge factor that can't be ignored moving forward. Everything in the world now just costs more. I think on a personal basis, we could all see that and feel that even when we go to fill up our gas tank or go do groceries. So obviously inflation has a big impact on MCK expenses and operations, and something that we will have to remain mindful of as we begin to develop the MCK strategic plan, the comprehensive financial plan, and the appropriated fund policy. Some other points related maybe to the staff and mental health. Here at the MCK, we have been doing our best to try and balance the health and safety of the organization with that desire to everybody wanting to return to a sense of normalcy and return to getting back into the office. It's been challenging given the unpredictable nature of the COVID virus. So balancing of these priorities obviously has to be done in a strategic manner moving forward. The risk is obviously still out there, and we see that with the most recent declaration of a sixth wave. It's been evident over the last 2 years that COVID has had real impacts on all of us, both personally and professionally. And again, this is something the MCK as the employer needs to be mindful of. To me, the mental health of our workforce is a priority because the state of our staff ultimately will reflect on the services and programs that we offer to the community at large. Maybe switching gears, and just also wanted to highlight some of the efforts that are being made to ensure MCK's long-term financial position. And some of the steps that we're taking to mitigate the risk to our finances. And again, I know I mentioned some of them already, and they're mentioned in the press release. The strategic plan, the comprehensive financial plan, as well as the development of a appropriated fund policy. More recently, in the last year, we did create the executive revenue officer position and hired an individual to take on that specific job. The objective, obviously, is to identify opportunities for us to generate own source revenue so that we are less reliant on external government funding. This position would allow us to support and fund on our own the growth and new initiatives within the community into the future, which may not be funded by government monies at this point. All in all, both this new fiscal year and the one that just ended yesterday, I think just the fact that we're operating at a surplus and a projected surplus is a good indication that we have been adapting to the pandemic environment. And I wanted to use this opportunity to also acknowledge the role that the staff has played in this. Lindsay said it, earlier today and said it well. It hasn't been easy for any of us, more so than others, depending on what our job entails. But with all that being said, I just wanted to say KahnawakeTV to the MCK employees for their ongoing dedication and hard work. If there's any questions at this point, or if Lindsay wanted to add anything at this point, please feel free. Those are my remarks. Linz?
Yeah, I think Onerahtókha said it well. I mean, the main thing that besides that the budget, I would like to take this time to thank all our employees. Without them, the whole system would not be able to function as it does. And I think a lot of times we don't, they don't get the pat on the back, I guess you would say, that they should. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank them. And you're doing a great job, and the community is much the better for it.